everybody, welcome back. Today our video is not actually a workout video. It's a little bit more thinky, okay, a little more teacher education school-like, and that's okay. Really we use this type of a lesson for older students, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade, but it should be okay for kindergartners, 1st and 2nd and 3rd graders to listen to, as well as anybody for that matter, adults, parents. We welcome you to join us also. We're going to talk today about our 5 key components of physical fitness. Okay, so there's 5 basic areas that fitness or our health falls under in terms of our physical fitness. We're not talking about our mental health or spiritual health or social health. Those are all important to our overall wellness as well, but we're talking about our physical health. Okay, so I'm going to put up on the screen occasionally these nice and zoomed in, some of these nice little mini posters, if you will, but I'm also going to try to link them below if I can. Below, I still don't know what that means. I'll see what I can do, and you'll have access to these. So if you want to print them up, hang them up around the house or whatever, you can do that. Okay, so there's 5 key components, all right, in no particular order: cardiovascular endurance, right? And some of these words might sound familiar, some of them might be great big words. That's okay. Muscular endurance, muscular strength, body composition, and flexibility. Okay, so those are the 5 key fitness components that we're going to talk about today, right? The first one, cardiovascular endurance. Many of you have heard people say, I got to go do my cardio work, or my endurance. So we have muscular endurance and we have cardiovascular endurance. They kind of work together. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But our cardiovascular endurance is basically the ability of our heart and our lungs to work together to supply our body with the oxygen and everything that it needs through our blood, and what is supplied through our blood, which is a ton. Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but our heart pumping, we know our heart beats faster. We have you check your heart rate, you know, when you're in Mr. Wilson's PE class, and we're checking that, and our heart beats faster to supply our muscles with that blood. Again, there's good stuff in that blood, the oxygen and so forth, all right? So we breathe in, it comes into our lungs, the air goes into our lungs, and it ends up making its way into the bloodstream, okay? And the heart pumps that through to the muscles that are needed the most. So if we were running, where would that blood be pumping to? Mostly to the legs, right? Okay, if we started doing push-ups, the blood would pump more to our arms and our chest maybe. Okay, so you feel the pump, we say pump it up, right? You're literally pumping your muscles with blood. But this cardiovascular part, this is our heart and our lungs, that breathing component, and that piece of this fitness, all right? So examples: walking, jogging, biking. I would say biking lightly, not doing a sprint, okay? A treadmill, jogging, swimming, and aerobics, okay? So oftentimes cardiovascular and aerobic go hand in hand, all right? So the opposite of aerobic would be what we'd call anaerobic, okay? And I've mentioned some of that in our previous videos, okay? So in fact, why don't we go to something that would be more anaerobic? All right, let's talk about, actually, let's go to muscular endurance so that we can kind of go hand in hand. You can see the connection, okay, with these. So muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle group to continue that movement over and over again, right? So that cardiovascular piece, our heart and our lungs are making it so that those muscles can keep doing things over and over again. Those things we just listed, being on a treadmill, biking, swimming, hiking, okay, walking, lightly jogging maybe, okay? Those would be things of being able to do something over and over again at a very low intensity. It's not real hard to do, okay? But for muscular endurance, something like doing sit-ups, a lot of you can do sit-ups for a really long time. If you can only do 8 or 10 sit-ups, that would not be something of muscular endurance really for you. But other students, you know, we've had, you know, older students who could just do hundreds of sit-ups, okay? That would be something that would be considered more muscular endurance. So the examples they give here are sit-ups or curl-ups, biking, swimming, okay? Something you can do over and over again. If we were jogging, are we using our cardiovascular? Of course, we're using our cardiovascular, our heart and our lungs, yes. but it's our legs that are having the muscular endurance to be able to keep going over and over and over again. Okay, so hopefully you can see how you kind of need the cardio part in order to be able to do some muscular endurance part. The cardio endurance, the heart, cardio means heart, a cardiologist, heart doctor, okay, and aerobic, and you need them to work together with your endurance, okay? Now again, I just mentioned, and I decided to change my mind on you, that we would go to anaerobic. Okay, so the opposite of aerobic would be anaerobic, and this would be our muscular strength. This is the ability of your muscles to use and exert force and power. When I think of a power lifter in the Olympics, and they grab the barbell, and they reach down low, and they lift it once, and the little lights go off, and the judges give them a thumbs up, and they slam it down, right? Okay, a baseball swing, strength, right? Things that you do one time, you're exerting yourself. The shot put in track and field, okay? So, obviously those types of things are more muscular strength. Could push-ups be muscular strength? Absolutely. Could sit-ups be muscular strength? Absolutely. Or is it the ability of our muscles to exert force and power? Okay? So now this says with a single contraction. All right? So at its purest form, strength would be that raw, one repetition, strength. Okay? But it doesn't have to just be one repetition. Okay? But you see we have muscular endurance and we have muscular strength. Hopefully you're seeing the difference a little bit here. Okay, maybe you can think of some other activities or sports where you would do something once, a golf swing maybe, okay, where you're doing something once. Be thinking about the sports that you like and how they relate to these, okay? Another one, flexibility. Okay, and some of you young kids out there, super flexible. Mr. Wilson, I could work more on my flexibility, okay? I know I could. The older we get, we tend to not be as flexible as when we're younger, okay? Little babies and toddlers, they're super flexible, all right? So this is our range of movement, our ability to stretch our muscles, okay? So when you're doing a sit and reach test, or that as your stretch, as one of our stations in PE, that would be an example of flexibility, right? Something like butterflies, our arm circles, toe touches, those types of things. Stretching your neck, swiveling it around, okay? Our shoulders, doing different things. Now there's two different types of stretching that we talk about oftentimes that we've mentioned in other videos, and that is our dynamic stretching and our static stretching. Dynamic stretching would be a moving type stretch. You're walking out lunges, okay, or you're doing huggers, or you're doing circles with your neck, okay, or arm circles. Those would all be dynamic stretching, where static stretching would be holding a stretch, okay, holding a stretch, holding it for a while. Oh, yeah, oh, feels good, okay. That's a static stretch, okay, so there's a difference there. Again, another fitness component, there's 5, again, all right, so we've gone through cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, and flexibility. Last but not least, okay, is body composition. By the way, I want to back up just a minute, okay, and talk about some of you Bluff Shoe students. When we're doing our warm-up stations, okay, that we do every day, and I know we tweak them a little bit, I want you to understand that Mr. Wilson designed that warm-up station. We tweak it a little bit so that you're working on these different components, okay? So our cardiovascular endurance, what do you do when you start, when you come into the gym? What's the very first thing you start doing? I don't have to say anything to you. Your teacher doesn't have to say anything to you. You start jogging very slow, right? We call that the pre-warm-up. You're getting your body to do our warm-up stations, our warm-up. So we got a pre-warm-up, we have the warm-up. Really, exercise fitness routine is our warm-up, right? For whatever unit we're doing in PE class. But you've got your cardiovascular endurance when you're jogging laps, whether it's at the beginning of class or as that one station, right? What other station would be one that I have you do a lot of times that would be cardiovascular? There's another station. I'm going to give you a second to try to think about it. Go around the gym. We do this, we do sit-ups, we do planks, jumping jacks. Are jumping jacks cardiovascular? Yes, absolutely. We could do them for a really long time, but we need our heart and our lungs to supply our body with the oxygen that it needs to do that, okay? So that's one, right? Another one, let's think of our station for flexibility. Duh, we have that station where we do the sit and reach. Okay, so there's our flexibility. Some of you do some of the other stretches that maybe you have learned or you do at your sports practices and stuff like that, okay? And then, of course, we have our muscular endurance. What do we do for muscular endurance as one of those stations? Let's see, let's go through them. You got it, sit-ups. When we're doing those sit-ups over in the corner on that mat, that is muscular endurance, okay? It could be our planks that we're doing, working on muscular endurance. It could be our wall sits also that we're doing. And then our muscular strength, right? And this one I would say would be more the push-ups that you're doing in class. And I'm always talking about the different levels that we do, okay, to make it hard on your body, all right, to push your body and make you better at doing those push-ups, okay? One that we don't really work on, although the idea is that we're helping improve, is that of our body composition. All right, composition means what it's made from, what it's made of. Okay, so your body is made of stuff, right? What do we have? Let's break it down. We've got our bones, we've got our organs, we have our muscle, right? And then we have our fat. Okay, so our body composition is when we're talking about this, we're talking about how much of our body is what we don't want, and that would be the fat. Okay, so body composition is the percentage of body fat compared to what we call your lean body mass, your LBM, the lean body mass. Lean body mass being bones, organs, and muscle. Okay, that's just stuff you're gonna have, right? The fat is kind of the other stuff that goes along with that. So there's ways that we measure body composition, and Mr. Wilson's had a few of these done, and I'm actually going to demonstrate a little bit of this in a moment. That's kind of fun to an extent anyway, but there's some ways of measuring body composition. The first that people will use are these charts. They're called the BMI, the body mass index. Perhaps you've heard of these, okay? They are really, really not a very good way of measuring our body composition. Okay, here's why. They simply take your height and your weight, and it tells us, based on your height, this is how much you should weigh. There's a lot of problems with that. About 50% of people would fall out of the proper healthy range that they would say. For example, Mr. Wilson, I'm 5'11". Okay, so I'm 5'11", I weigh about 215, 220 pounds. I would show up on a BMI, a body mass index chart. I would show up as being obese or maybe severely overweight. There's a different range of these things, right? Okay, I would show up as being pretty overweight. Now, I might have a little excess fat, boys and girls, I admit, okay? But I don't think that I would be considered obese if people were to study me and look at me and so forth. Okay, so the body mass index, those sorts of things are not good, right? And for some reason, health professionals and a lot of people use that, and they use it just as a gauge. It's easy and it's quick, but it's not often very accurate. Okay, for me, I'm supposed to weigh between like 170 and 180 pounds, or 165 and 180 pounds. Again, I weigh 220. Okay, so I'm not that overweight. All right, so there's a difference between being obese and having too much fat, and being heavy and carrying a lot of weight as well. So those are things to think about. Okay, think about people who you might know that are kind of overweight because they have too much excess fat, versus overweight because they maybe have a lot of muscle. Okay, and that sort of thing. So anyway, other ways, there's ways to measure. Okay, we have a skin fold measurements that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit here. Okay, these skin fold measurements, and we have hydrostatic weighing, and this is where, and I actually got to do this when I was in college. The college that I was attending had a hydrostatic tank. You would go into this kind of like a tub, if you will, all right, filled with water, and there was a scale, and you had a little kind of a fabric little basket for you to sit on. We put on our swimsuit, And we got in there, so the only thing that we have on that weighs anything other than our body is our swimsuit. And we would have to exhale, all right, as we were going underwater. This thing would release us. They'd release this little lever and we would start to sink. And we would try to exhale as much air as we could to make our body as heavy as possible. And it would measure our weight underwater. And we had to stay under there for a certain amount of time until that scale kind of settled and everything. And there's formulas and kind of mathematical equations that you would use that you come up with to tell you your body fat percentage. And that's much more accurate, obviously, than doing something like the body mass index chart. All right, so the hydrostatic, obviously the problem with hydrostatic tanks is schools don't have them. They're kind of hard to find, and it's not something that in PE class, like in elementary school or middle school or high school, we're going to be like, okay, Johnny, hey, let's all take your turn getting in the hydrostatic tank. Okay, so they are pretty cool, but that's just another way of measuring. And then there's also electrical impedance. There's actually things like scales that you can step on that shoot a light up through your heels into your body. And don't ask me how, it's high-tech stuff, but it measures your body fat percentage, and they're actually quite relatively accurate. Right? Again, in college, one of my professors had access to one. He didn't own one, but he borrowed one from another university or something, and we were able to use that. There was a little thing it would print up, and it had your age and your date, your age and your weight, and all kinds of stuff, and it printed up all kinds of information about you. And one of the things was your body composition. Okay, so one of the things that I've talked about with some of the older students before with this body composition thing, because I talk about these calipers and I always tell them I'm going to bring them in, and I forget to. Okay, so I want to show you a couple different kinds, all right, and how they work, because it is kind of fun, all right. But I got these at GNC. They came with something I purchased, all right, General Nutrition Center. I'm going to try to hold it up. Hopefully the camera will focus on it. You can see there's different measurements here. And you can see that little bar is measuring like it's at the 1. You see the little 1 right there? It goes up to the 1. So this is where we're going to pinch. All right, we would pinch. And you see as I press here, you see where it says press. Well, you have to press hard enough that goes all the way down in. Okay, again, right here, you have to press hard enough that it goes all the way down in. So there's a certain amount of tension that has to be applied to different measurements of our body. I'll talk more about this, okay? We're gonna measure my finger right now. If we measure my finger, I'm not pressed down hard enough. Now I'm pressed down hard enough, and we could take that measurement on where this little bar falls, okay, on the millimeter side, okay, or on the inches side. All right, and then we take 4 measurements. There's different formulas for doing this, but we take measurements at 4 different sites typically. Sometimes people will use other sites. Sometimes they'll have some of the different charts will have men use different, males, boys use different sites, and girls, females use other sites. Sometimes they'll overlap, but a lot of times anymore they just do 4 different spots on our body, okay, where we pinch. All right, I'll do this a little bit here just for fun. Right, this is obviously not something we do in PE class, although it is something that they wanted us to do years ago, and we just said no, we're not doing it, okay, because it's kind of awkward to go pinching students with our little calipers here, okay. So here's another one. It's a little higher tech, okay. It has a spring-loaded mechanism, so that spring is set so that the tension is always going to be right, okay. It's not very hard, but I don't have to worry about the other little one here pressing at just the right tension. All right, this spring makes sure that it automatically does that. Okay, so it looks like a little bit of a trigger here, and you can see back here are those measurements. Okay, again, those measurements are in inches or millimeters. Okay, so again, we pinch, I can let go, and it can show us how many millimeters or whatever that is. Okay, so there are 4 sites that you would measure, okay, and I'm going to show you pictures of them. One would be, okay, measuring our bicep, okay, and they want you to kind of get the middle of it and so forth, and I want to make sure I try to get in here, but you would always want to, I'm going to show you pictures first before I do it. How's that? Okay, so you would always want to For example, here's a picture of somebody getting the skin. Okay, somebody else has to do this to you. So me doing this to myself here really is not the way to do it. Okay, but you can see the picture. They grab a little bit of skin, and you want to make sure you grab skin and not your muscle, obviously. Okay, and they're going to pinch the skin or the fat on our bicep. Okay, so other spots, we've got our scapular measurement, okay, which is in our back. You can see, actually take a skin fold, a little fat from our back. Another would have it coming from our waist, on Mr. Wilson, okay? And then the other one is similar to the first one, and it would be on the back of the arm, okay, in the tricep area, right about in the middle. Okay, again, you need somebody to do this, but when we're pinching, okay, here's an example, okay, of we want to make sure that we're just pinching the top layer of skin and that little bit of fat, okay, that's there. We don't want to make sure, we want to make sure that we do not grab our muscle, okay? So you can see the calipers pinching in between there, and you want to hold it for a second or two to make sure you have the right reading, all right? So, for example, the really only one I'm going to do right now, boys and girls, would be my bicep. Let me see if you can get that in there, okay? But you can see that it's pinching, okay? It's pinching. It's not horrible. It's a little awkward, whatever. Okay, and then we would take our measurement from there. Somebody would, whoever was measuring me would look at that and take that measurement. Okay, you do the back of the arm. We do our, we do our waist, okay, and get that as well. And somebody would get your back also. So after you make measurements, okay, and so forth, you have these little charts, okay, that you would go and you would add up those 4 sites, the bicep, the back of the arm, the tricep, our side, okay, and our back. We add up those 4 sites in terms of how many millimeters or how many inches you have in fat that was pinched, okay, and then there's a calculation. You can do these online. You can punch your numbers in, and they'll, as long as you had calipers, okay, you could do that and look at a chart. A lot of these calipers will come with charts, okay, so both these different calipers come with different charts, all right, because they're different calipers for one, and you know, some of them are for men, some are for women. This one has a side for women and a side for men as well. Okay, so just FYI on that, you know, as you're taking those 4 measurements, you go, well, what do I do with them? You write them down, and then a lot of these little books and stuff, or like I said, a website, you jot them down, and then there's a mathematical equation you do, has, you know, it's divided by a certain number and so forth, that gives you your percentage of body that is made of fat. And then the rest of your body you can assume is made up of muscle, bone, and organs. All right, so anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. A lot of people aren't aware of those calipers and the body composition testing that we do. Not that we do, but that can be done. Okay, obviously there's other more higher tech ways of doing it, like the hydrostatic tank. But those are our 5 basic fitness components, right? Again, flexibility, cardiovascular endurance, muscular endurance, muscular strength, okay? And we also had our body composition, okay, there at the end. So you want to make sure that those 5 pieces all fit together, all work together to make up our physical fitness, okay? So all the fitness type of things that we do, no matter what it is, CrossFit, doesn't matter, pick your sport, they or some of that sport and the activity along with it falls into improving or increasing this fitness. So hey, as always, thanks for visiting us. Thanks for watching this with us. As always, please, we've been getting ideas for videos. People are making suggestions for different types of workouts or different things that they'd like to see or want me to talk about. Please share those with me, send me an email, or you can comment below, all right, and everything. You can see our studio is getting new additions. All right, we got some Buckeye jerseys hanging up there, and we're liking it. It's coming along, okay? it's fun to be down here now. Okay, it used to look like a dungeon, and now it's not quite so much. All right, take care, be safe, be healthy, always have fun, my friends. Take care.